looking at breakfast this morning, it was a different kind of a conversation, because they normally get in there and they do like 3 topics in 9 minutes and they go bang, 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 bang. They talked about Jevon McSkimming the whole time and the cover-up, right? Which I think it's fair to say that officially now, not alleged, the cover-up. It's 6 minutes. We'll probably watch the whole thing, jumping in and out as it goes through. But it was surprising to me. Was it surprising to me? It's interesting to hear between, I mean, these guys are mates, right? We know that Kieran and the Bish are mates. But to hear the level of speaking with one voice for all of Parliament over this. The people who aren't typically speaking with one voice are internet trolls, political commentators, some journalists, maybe earmark around journalists. But the politicians aren't scoring points with this. Now, if I thought politicians were mature, I would say they're not scoring points because they are mature. They're a mature group of adults and they don't do that kind of thing. Now, we know that's not true. We know they will use any reason to score points on the other side. So logic dictates one of two possibilities. Either this really is a senior police cover-up and no one at a MP or ministerial level knew about it, and now once they found that they're cracking down, and you can't but go, these guys on the other side are doing the right thing. That's possibility number one. Possibility number two is there's skeletons in lots of closets, and that will come out later on. Just for the record, I don't think it's number two, but they seem to be the only two logical conclusions as to why a group of men and women whose daily job was to bitch and moan at each other for any reason whatsoever are speaking with one voice. It's either too serious a product not to score points on, or there's more to come. I'll say it again. I think it's the first. Yep. Time will tell whether that's the case or not. Anything you want to say before we hit play, Chewie?
No, let's roll it.
Let's roll it.
How damaging is this report for police and public trust, Kieran?
Well, it should be a concern for everybody. What's in that report is the sort of thing that you would have expected to see in the past, but not now. There's been a lot of efforts to go into a culture change, not just in police, but across the board, recognising the bravery that it requires to come forward with concerns about sexual allegations like this. And there is a reasonable expectation these days that they get taken seriously. And what the report shows is that that hasn't been the case. How damaging this is for police as a whole, I hope it isn't to the extent where people start to doubt the integrity of their local police force. We are incredibly well served by our police across the whole, and the report does show that there were some that took their own career on the line to stand up and push against this. And so the actions of some, as abhorrent as they are, I don't think should be reflective of the police force as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, I know that there's still investigations that are going on, but who should be held accountable here?
Look, I have to agree with Kieran. I think people were pretty shocked by the events of 2007 and Louise Nicholas. People listening with long memory or watching with long memories will remember the events of the mid-2000s and the subsequent inquiries, and that was very confronting for people, very concerning, and I think people had hoped, assumed that there'd been a change since then, and I think many people will say, well, hang on a minute, it doesn't look like that's actually happened, where you've got the Commissioner, senior people around the Commissioner engaged in what, has been over the last couple of days, shocking series of revelations, really. So I think people will worry about it. My concern is a bit like what Kieran said. Your average, well, not average, but, your
cop on the street,
police officer on the front line, who people interact with, regularly in your local police station. My worry is that people will think, well, I'm not sure about this anymore, and I'm not sure about engaging with them because I've read these stories, and I think I would encourage people to not let a few rotten apples at the top tarnish everybody else, because on the whole, the thousands of men and women who work for the police do a great.
Do you want to repeat it for newbies, Chewie?
The rest of the saying, a few bad apples spoil the bunch. It is not a saying to minimise there's just one or two, so just hoe into the bushel of apples. Is that if you don't trust a couple of the apples, then you won't trust any of them.
Yeah.
So, this is what we're saying. Sure, Johnny Copperson, beat cop on the street, might have pots of integrity, but you don't know that until you find out.
Yeah.
And if there's a consistent, like he's linked it to Louise Nicol and that sort of thing, and that I'm glad to see that that's acknowledged. But if shit keeps happening, it shows a culture.
Yeah.
And if the culture's there, then you put that on the uniform. And it's up to the police to show us that they've put it behind them.
And what happened with Louise Nicholas, I think it was 2007, it feels like a long time ago, but if you're dealing with senior police officers 15, 16, 17 years later, then they're more than likely to have been people around when the Louise Nicholas thing happened. Now, I'm not holding them responsible for any of the Louise Nicholas stuff, but if that was a culture, Chewie, of the police then some of the people who were likely police officers in that culture then are now the most senior ones today. So it's just worth remembering what Chewie said. A couple of bad apples is indicative of the culture of all the apples. All the apples in the bag have that culture if a couple of them are rotten. We'll keep going.
Job in our communities, do an excellent job. But we do need that culture change at the top. And the government is going to drive that. And the current commissioner, Mr. Chambers, and the minister have given their commitment to do that.
I have to say I was pretty impressed with the commissioner's response. He's clearly taken this seriously. He's clearly disgusted at the behaviour of those that came before him. And you will note that there has been no bickering amongst Labor and National on this matter. It is absolutely inexcusable for the police minister to have been deprived information that he would reasonably expect to get and would most likely have made it and acted on if he received it. And then that flows back right through to the appointment process where information wasn't shared where they would have expected to know and possibly come with a different outcome. So there is a concerted effort here to have hid information and in the Commissioner's own words, a cover-up. But for him to come out and say that and take responsibility to fix it, I think that needs to be recognised as well.
Yeah, and Chris, I mean, you talk about the minister. Mark Mitchell says that it's not time to get political, but is it a fair question to ask, about those who actually appointed Andrew Coster?
Look, I don't think the public want to see senior politicians engaging in backwards and forwards here. The Parliament has been presented, or the Parliament has been presented with a very serious report by the independent watchdog. If you read that report, it's a shocker. There's no other way to describe it. And the question after that is, what do people like Kieran and myself, and we're not police ministers obviously, but I'm in government, Kieran's been in there and he's a senior opposition leader. What is the response of the government and the opposition to that as a parliament to make sure there is change? And the public don't want to see us backwards and forwards about who did what and who appointed who and all that sort of stuff. Actually, as the report makes clear, the information wasn't there, and as Kieran's just said, that if that information had been provided, there may have been different decisions made. It's not worth probably dwelling on that. What is worth dwelling on is what we do next, and that's what we're really focused on. Yeah,
but I guess the other thing, Kieran, here is that should Coster have been appointed to that position? That was in November. We know that the IPCA process had started in the month before he was appointed to that role. So should there...
So that's interesting. So the IPCA investigation started the month before Costa got the new position. Now, I'm assuming the IPCA wouldn't have released or wasn't able to release or perhaps advise the minister because there was only 4 weeks into an investigation. But it is an interesting part of the timeline. And I think it's a fair question. What it's not, though, is a fair conspiracy if someone wanted to go down that path.
Big
Yep. Okay.
questions asked in and around that, though.
You're talking about his current position that he's now on leave?
Yes, with the Social Investment Agency. Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone come and ask those questions, to be honest. We're letting the process play out. It's quite clear that there wasn't all the information available to those that needed it, and so there's not going to be helpful for anyone to be pointing fingers at this point in time. When the appointment was made, nobody raised any questions about it. Nobody raised an eyebrow, because at the moment, what we knew at the time, there was a distinguished career in the police. Now we find out that there are serious questions about that. And I think that there's one important thing to make here, is that if the two of us are having a crack at each other and trying to get cheap political points about appointment processes and all that sort of stuff, we actually lose focus of the most important thing. And that is that there is a woman involved in this who made some serious accusations, who wasn't taken seriously, and it's really important that it is seen to be taken seriously now.
Couldn't agree more.
Fair point.
Yeah, so there you go. So, singing from the same song sheet, I know that there are some people in the chat who aren't that favourable of it, but a few of the chats that scrolled past, did Mark Mitchell ask not to be included so he could have plausible deniability? I would say no, but ask your question. They both love cops. I'm guessing that's both Labour and National. I wonder, this is back to Te Pāti Māori. Kushla says, I won't consider to vote again for them again unless Tu Urua Flavel, Hana or Orini replaces JT. Interesting. I've just, their names just jumped out of my head. The interviewer that we were just watching on One News is leaving One News, and rumour has it she might be going to challenge in one of those Māori seats. I was going to say Stacey. No, Stacey's not. Sorry, me and Chewie names. They jump out of our heads. Kieran and the Bish might actually agree on something today. Gark says, notice he doesn't address the honesty of the police. Yeah, so there are questions still to be asked. But yeah, I mean, there is so much going on. Speaking of Te Pāti Māori, sorry, Chewie, you go. I'm just moving.
I was just going to say, I agreed with Chris Bishop in that interview, and it feels weird. I just want to say how refreshing it is to see an opposition MP and a government MP fucking agree on something.
Yeah.
Like just we don't see much of it, and I think people really appreciate it when it's something that matters.
Yeah.
That they just go, oh, yep. No, we both acknowledge what needs to happen here. And I just wish that would happen with health, education, infrastructure. Like all of the things that we want them to put their heads together. I think as far as the matter for the police, it's for me it's a police issue. It's not a government issue.
Yeah.
I think the fact that Costa was, IPCA was doing its investigation when Costa was going through his stuff and that, I don't see a conspiracy there. I just see a we're not going to tip our hand until we know what we've got here. That is how an investigation works. I have basically zero criticisms of the IPCA in this whole story. I think they've done a sterling job, and they've done what they've had to do. And I've had lots of criticisms and misgivings with the IPCA in the past. I think the short, one of the things that frustrates me, I read a story. Did you know the police are still pursuing charges against the woman, Miss Z?
I read that they'd all been dismissed or dropped or something.
No. They've dismissed the initial charges for emails to some people, but there's another set of emails.
Right.
And they're still pursuing those.
Okay. Well, I guess let's chase that and see if we can break it down next week. I hadn't heard that. If that's the case, obviously that's shocking. Because even if someone does then commit an alleged crime, a harmful, but the reason they do it is you've ignored the other 300 valid emails. There's some mitigation that could be put before that if that is the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, if they're just going, oh, well, we're going to forgive her these emails because of this whole thing, and then there's ancillary emails about a slightly different you know what? Give her a fucking pass.
Yeah.
Like, the police are not going to look good doing this, and I don't think it serves the public benefit. They just need to apologize to this woman and fucking put it right and pursuing charges against her. No matter what they are, if there are more emails and that sort of thing, just drop it.
Yeah.
But the police here have a long-term challenge here. Is this goes in the Louise Nichols bucket of women can't trust the cops. And there's a bunch of people that just don't believe women or prey on women. And this is why Tamitha said it very, very clearly. This is why so many women don't feel like they can go to the cops.